Hello everyone. So today I am going to talk a little bit more about, what I researched this whole semester about chemical oceanography. And just a little background, I had no idea what chemical oceanography was. I chose it because I thought it'd be fun to learn something that I didn't know much about. So I enjoyed being able to do that and to research more through the articles that I found and to understand that there's so much that goes into chemical oceanography. It's not just simple one thing. It affects everything. So going in from there, what is chemical oceanography? So it's the study of the chemistry in the ocean, of the chemicals that make up the ocean. It's just all about what the ocean is made up of and the chemicals that are in it. And so this is important because then we could see so many different aspects of the ocean. So we can see how the chemicals affect the sea life or vice versa. We can see how the sea life affects the chemicals of the ocean, and it's just very interesting to see that. Also, we can understand how it affects the environment, so we can know how what we are doing to the oceans. I know some examples are such as like oil spills or climate change, different things like that affect the ocean and how the ocean is affecting the environment as well. So through all these different ways, and these are just a few ways, we can learn more about the ocean. And this is just really fun because we don't know very much about the ocean. The ocean is so huge, and so learning more about it is great. So going from there, so just some real world topics. I found a lot of real world topics, to be honest, and these are just a few. A majority of what I found were real world topics. A lot of people study very specific areas. So throughout the world, we see many different chemical processes that happen in the ocean. And so these are just a few examples. So such as the basalt sea, this has a kind of different chemical makeup, and because of it has this different chemical makeup because of all the rivers that flow into it, and it differs from like distilled water, and because of all this, the organic materials that are there are a little bit more complex. And so studying here would be interesting because it would help to understand the different life that lives there, or how it's affecting those areas from the chemicals in the ocean. Another example is the Arctic Ocean, and I don't understand so much about what particle assemblages are, but what I got from it was that they went to the Arctic Ocean and they were able to find out that because of the chemical makeup there, it allows for 7 different clusters of particle assemblages. So within all these clusters, they were able to then research about these clusters and find that there are different concentrations and compositions, and they all had different phytoplankton. And so because of this discovery, they were able to differentiate distinct assemblages within a certain ecology. So that was something that I thought was very cool. Some questions scientists are still trying to answer. How do chemical changes affect life in the ocean? Like I've said previously, we do know a little bit about this, but we don't know everything about this. How is it going to affect everything? And there might be no way to know, but we need to do more research to find out. How does life in the ocean change the chemical makeup of the ocean? So we do know a few things about this, but again, there's so much of the ocean that we don't know, that this is continued to be researched. And this last question, how to gather oxygen from Precambrian surface of the ocean. So this came from a very specific article, and it just talked about how it's very hard to gather this oxygen, or to know about this oxygen in the Precambrian surface of the ocean, and that more research and more technology is coming out, so we can be able to do more research, but they're trying to find this out, and so they can gather that information and learn more about the ocean. So talked a little bit about what researchers are continuing to study, but again, this is a different example. So what have researchers suggested for continued study? Something scientists, this came from, again, a very specific article, but some scientists are saying that we need to do more research on groundwater in the coastal aquifers, so how they affect each other. So there hasn't been much study because it was kind of hard to study. They don't really have very much technology. They don't know what's happening very well there. And so this whole article was dedicated to how can we better study, and different ideas that we can better study this specific area. If I were to do research, I would just want to find out the positive and negative ways that they affect each other and the lives around there. I think that would be very interesting to me, how it affects the environment. And those are very broad, but I do feel like those would be things that could be helpful. So something that I found really fascinating about chemical oceanography, and something about me, is I am a biology major, so this is just interesting to me, is how the wildlife uses the chemicals in the ocean. And so, for example, in an article that I found, the fish and crustacean larvae use the chemicals in the ocean to help them know and decide and differentiate between different habitats. So they'll swim around and they'll go to a habitat, and that the chemicals that are there will help them know if they should stay there or if they should leave, if they should continue looking for a new habitat. I just thought that was very fascinating, very interesting, and just how cool it is that, biology and geology, they just overlap. And then that's just my reference page, but thank you for watching my video, and hope you learned a little bit more about chemical oceanography.